So you want to have a great PD session with your participants. And for most presenters, that will involve presentation slides that you'll use throughout the session. But did you know that how you design those presentation slides can really greatly affect how much they'll be able to understand and retain from your session? So in this video, we're going to look at a few easy pointers to create really effective presentation slides. All right. So the first tip is to limit the text on your slides when you're also speaking to them. When you read something, you hear a little narrator in your head speaking those words, right? So therefore, when you're presenting and speaking with text-heavy slides, for your participants, it's almost like they're two people talking at the same time, and no matter how hard we may try, the human brain just can't do that. So it's like two people talking at the same time, and it results in people's attention being really split between the words on the slide and your words that you're speaking. So to avoid this from happening, drastically limit the amount of words on your slides that you're speaking to either a single key word or a very short phrase. Now, sometimes you may want to share like a really important quote that you want your participants to see. So if that's the case, have the quote up there and just don't talk for a moment. Just let them read it in silence and then move on after you've given them a little bit of time to process that. So generally speaking, though, it's a key word or a very, very short phrase. All right, but by designing slides this way, you'll really be able to keep people's attention far more effectively. A second tip for designing effective slides is to use a strong image when you speak. So we just learned that the brain can't process two people speaking at the same time. However, it absolutely can process hearing something and seeing something at the same time. And having a strong visual with your spoken words works really effectively when teaching people new things. Okay. Now, the image should be very clear. It should be an icon or a photograph, something really easy to understand. Now, it can be literal, or it can even be metaphorical, right? Showing a mountain to show a sort of a struggle or a climb. So either way, but anything that sort of complements the words that you are speaking. Now, if you need to include something that is a very complex image, like a graph or a diagram or a table, try to kind of break it apart by showing certain parts of it come into the screen and building on it if possible, or even have little arrows animate to point to certain parts at certain times if you need to show the whole thing. Otherwise, that can be quite distracting for people. But a simple, kind of clear image can be really, really effective to focus people's attention. Okay. Tip number 3, for the most part, use a consistent design on your slides, right? If possible, put those keywords and visuals in a similar spot on the slide, okay? Learning new things takes a lot of mental energy, right? So by keeping your content in a consistent design, it really kind of reduces the mental load and the distraction, and it really allows people to kind of use those mental resources to stay focused on your message, which is what you really want, right? And that's why books are so popular, right? Every time people flip the page, they know exactly where to look, and they can just kind of focus on the content. So if you can, even keep the same background and fonts throughout your session. Okay. Now, bam! Having just said that about keeping a consistent slide design, you may have certain really key important points in your session where you want to grab people's attention and really send home an important point. Okay. So you'll notice doing a temporary switch in design, different background, different location of a visual, larger font, something like that. Doing that temporary switch in design can really jolt people to attention. Okay, now use this technique sparingly, and then you return to your standard format, and then it gets people back into the rhythm of your session with that consistent design, okay? When designing slides, Visual literacy expert Dr. Linnell Burmark suggests that when you do have visuals and text on a slide, to put the visual on the left and the text on the right. And the reason for that is, as English readers, we read left to right, and so our eyes tend to follow that same pattern when taking in information on a slide. And because we can process images so many times faster than text, Dr. Burmark suggests that seeing the visuals first, or on the left, and then the text on the right will help learners process quicker and more deeply. All right, the final tip is to use caution when integrating entertaining elements into your session. Okay? Now, we want people to be interested and entertained, but those entertaining elements are really most likely the things people remember from your session. Okay? And if those elements really do reinforce your key points, awesome. On the other hand, if those entertaining elements distract people, though, it will be more of the distractions they remember and less of your key points. Okay. I used to start my PD sessions with a really funny TV commercial. I'd put in a YouTube video with a little commercial, 30-second or 1-minute TV commercial clip, like Super Bowl commercials, super funny. Sometimes there was a loose point that was connecting to the session, but it was a very loose point. And I now kind of looking back, I wonder if that's kind of what people remembered from the session, especially at the beginning and the ending when you really have people focused. So for memes or animated GIFs, funny anecdotes, be really cautious and use them only to reinforce your key ideas. All right, so in summary, we talked about not speaking to text-heavy slides and limiting the amount of text on your slides when you're speaking. We talked about adding a rich visual to your slide to complement the words that you are saying and really help people understand even more. We talked about keeping a consistent slide design throughout your session to kind of allow people to mentally process the new information that they've come to your session for. And finally, to be cautious about those entertaining elements in case they distract versus reinforce your key points. Hope those have been useful and have a great session.